Right now, an enzyme called DPP4 is destroying your GLP-1 within 90 seconds of your body making it. That's the same fat-burning, hunger-crushing hormone that Ozempic was designed to mimic, and your gut is already producing it every time you eat. The real problem isn't production, it's sabotage. 10 foods under $1, a serving fight back on both fronts, raising GLP-1 and blocking the enzyme, tearing it apart. We'll cover exactly how each one works, the right way to use it, and the preparation mistake that cancels the benefit entirely. The most counterintuitive food on the list is number 7, and it has nothing to do with what you eat at that meal. Think about what you ate this morning. One question: did it feed your GLP-1 system, or did it hand DPP4 the ammunition it needed? Hold that thought. The answer lands in under 60 seconds. Food 1. Extra virgin olive oil. Picture a bottle of olive oil sitting in a bright supermarket aisle. Yellow label, the word light, printed across it in clean, modern font. It looks healthy. It has been refined, stripped, and cut with cheaper seed oils, and it will do almost nothing for your GLP-1. The bottle that looks healthier is the one doing the damage. Real extra virgin olive oil, cold-pressed, single origin, harvest dated, hits your GLP-1 system from 3 directions at once. First, a 2017 study published in Nutrients found that oleic acid, the dominant fat in quality olive oil, directly stimulates GLP-1 release from intestinal L cells within 30 minutes of consumption. Second, it suppresses ghrelin, the hormone that generates hunger signals, so you're getting more stop eating and less keep going simultaneously. Third, oleic acid triggers the production of oleoethanolamide, a lipid signal that travels to your brain and confirms satiety, independent of GLP-1 entirely. That's 3 separate hormonal levers from 1 tablespoon. This week, audit your fridge door. Replace 1 bottled dressing or seed oil spread with a tablespoon of verified extra virgin olive oil. Harvest date on the label, dark glass, single country of origin. 1 swap. That's the whole ask. Food 2. Turmeric. What if the most clinically interesting compound on this entire list came from a spice that costs less than $2 per month to use correctly? Curcumin doesn't just trigger GLP-1, it multiplies the source. Curcumin, the active compound in turmeric, was studied in a 2020 paper in the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry, showing it directly stimulates intestinal L cells, the same cells responsible for GLP-1 production, and appears to increase their population over repeated exposure. Longer use, more producing cells, more baseline GLP-1. That's a structural adaptation, not just a meal-by-meal spike. The catch is absorption. Raw turmeric powder has notoriously poor bioavailability. Your gut absorbs very little of it in isolation. Fat changes that equation dramatically. Curcumin is fat-soluble, meaning pairing even half a teaspoon of turmeric powder with olive oil or coconut milk at the same meal pushes absorption significantly higher without any additives. A 2014 study in the European Journal of Nutrition confirmed fat co-ingestion as the most practical bioavailability enhancer available outside of pharmaceutical formulations. Add half a teaspoon of organic turmeric powder to your next batch of scrambled eggs or roasted vegetables, always with a fat present in the same pan. That pairing is the difference between decoration and function. Food 3. Ginger. Ginger is the only food on this list that works both sides of the DPP4 problem simultaneously. And it does it in the same cup. Ginger makes more GLP-1, then blocks the enzyme that kills it. The active compound here is gingerol. A 2012 study in the World Journal of Gastroenterology confirmed that gingerol directly stimulates GLP-1 secretion from intestinal L cells. A separate 2015 study in Complementary Therapies in Medicine found that ginger extract measurably inhibits DPP4 activity, the same enzyme identified in our opener as the primary GLP-1 destroyer. That dual action is precisely what the pharmaceutical drug class called DPP4 inhibitors was designed to replicate. and ginger achieves a version of it through two distinct molecular pathways. A 1-inch piece of fresh ginger, roughly the length of your thumb's first joint, contains enough gingerol to produce a meaningful effect when consumed daily. Steep it peeled and thinly sliced in near boiling water for 10 minutes before your first meal. That single habit addresses both sides of the equation before breakfast is finished. If you are already using turmeric, add fresh ginger to the same morning drink. These two compounds share overlapping anti-inflammatory pathways, and their combined effect on GLP-1 is additive, not redundant. Food 4. Steel-cut oats and barley. A 2016 clinical trial at Chalmers University of Technology in Sweden followed participants who ate a barley-based breakfast every morning for 3 days. By day 3, their GLP-1 levels at lunch, 4 hours after breakfast, were measurably elevated compared to a control group eating refined wheat. Breakfast at 7 a.m. is still running your hormones at noon. The mechanism is beta-glucan, a soluble fiber found in meaningful quantities only in whole oats and barley, not in instant oats, which digest at nearly the same speed as table sugar. Beta-glucan dissolves in your stomach and forms a viscous gel that physically slows food transit through your digestive tract. The slower the transit, the longer your intestinal L cells are exposed to nutrients, and the longer GLP-1 keeps releasing. Barley contains slightly more beta-glucan per gram than oats, approximately 5 to 11% by dry weight, according to a 2014 review in Nutrients, making it the stronger choice when available. Steel-cut oats are the next best option. Rolled oats still work. Instant oats do not. The distinction is not marketing. It is structural processing that directly determines the beta-glucan gel's viscosity and therefore its hormonal effect. Cook a large batch of steel-cut oats or barley on Sunday and store it in the fridge. Cooling cooked grains for 12 or more hours converts a portion of their digestible starch into resistant starch, which ferments in your lower gut and produces a secondary GLP-1 signal on top of the beta-glucan effect. Food 5. Lentils. Most high-fiber foods finish their job at dinner. Lentils are still working on your hormones the following morning. Lentils don't feed your next meal. They fund it. The distinction comes down to fermentation speed. Lentils contain a combination of plant protein and resistant starch that resists digestion in your small intestine entirely. That undigested material travels over several hours into your lower colon, where specific bacterial strains ferment it and produce short-chain fatty acids, particularly butyrate and propionate. A 2017 study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition identified propionate as a direct stimulator of GLP-1 secretion from colonic L cells, a completely separate population of GLP-1 producing cells from those activated by the foods earlier in this list. Researchers call this the second meal effect. Participants in a 2012 trial published in Nutrition Journal who ate lentils at dinner showed significantly lower blood glucose and higher GLP-1 responses at breakfast the next morning, compared to a control group. Add half a cup of dry red lentils, they cook in 15 minutes without soaking, to a soup or stew this week alongside olive oil and garlic. 3 GLP-1 mechanisms, 1 bowl, halfway through, and the second half is where this gets surprising. Food 7 involves a gut bacteria that lean people carry in measurably higher levels than people who struggle with weight, and one affordable vegetable feeds it directly. Subscribe so the next video finds you automatically. Drop the one food you are adding this week in the comments. Food 6. Shiitake and maitake mushrooms. When researchers in a 2010 trial published in the Journal of Nutritional Science and Vitaminology gave participants with impaired glucose tolerance a meal containing maitake mushrooms, their GLP-1 levels measured 3 hours later were 17% higher than when they ate the identical meal without mushrooms. 3 hours later, still climbing. The mechanism is a beta-glucan variant specific to mushrooms. Lentinin in shiitake and grifolin in maitake. These are structurally different from the oat beta-glucan in food 4 and they work through a separate pathway, activating receptors on immune cells in the gut lining that then signal L cells to release GLP-1. That immune-gut axis connection is one reason mushrooms have been studied for metabolic benefits independent of their fiber content. A cup of sliced shiitake contains approximately 2.5 grams of this beta-glucan variant, enough to produce a measurable effect according to the same 2010 trial. White button mushrooms contain smaller but non-trivial amounts, roughly 1 gram per cup, making them a practical daily option when shiitake or maitake are unavailable or outside budget. Sauté a handful in a dry pan first until they release their liquid, then add olive oil and minced garlic. That sequence concentrates the flavor and preserves the fiber structure better than oil-first cooking. Buy fresh over canned without exception. Canned mushrooms are heat-processed at temperatures that degrade lentenin significantly. Firm, dry caps with no sliminess. That is the only freshness marker worth checking. Food 7. Asparagus. Imagine two people eating the exact same foods from this list. One gets a strong GLP-1 response. The other gets almost nothing. Same foods, same portions, same timing, completely different hormonal outcomes. The difference is not willpower. The difference is who is living in their gut. A 2013 study in the journal Gut found that people with higher levels of a bacterial strain called Akkermansia mucinifila showed significantly better metabolic markers, lower body fat percentage, and stronger GLP-1 responses than people with low levels of the same bacteria. A 2019 clinical trial published in Nature Medicine confirmed that participants with higher baseline Akkermansia levels responded more robustly to dietary interventions targeting GLP-1. The bacteria works by producing a surface protein called AMUC 100, which binds directly to receptors on intestinal L cells and triggers GLP-1 release independent of what you just ate. Asparagus feeds Akkermansia more effectively than almost any other affordable vegetable because it is exceptionally dense in inulin, a prebiotic fiber that Akkermansia preferentially ferments. 6 to 8 fresh spears roasted at 400 degrees Fahrenheit with olive oil delivers a meaningful inulin dose without any supplementation. Add asparagus to your plate once or twice this week. Akkermansia populations grow over weeks of consistent feeding. Think of it as infrastructure investment for every other food on this list. Food 8. Garlic. Garlic does not produce the largest GLP-1 spike on this list. What it does is ensure that the GLP-1 every other food helped you produce does not get dismantled before it can work. Garlic is not the generator. It is the circuit breaker. The active compound is allicin, but allicin only forms through a specific two-step enzymatic reaction, physical crushing or mincing of the clove, followed by a resting period of at least 10 minutes before any heat is applied. A 2016 study in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry confirmed that skipping the resting period, throwing freshly chopped garlic straight into a hot pan, reduces allicin formation by up to 90% compared to the crush and rest method. Once formed, allicin inhibits DPP-4 through a mechanism identified in a 2014 study in food chemistry, meaning garlic functions as a natural DPP-4 inhibitor, the same class of diabetes medication that protects GLP-1 from enzymatic breakdown. 2 to 3 cloves per day is the threshold used in most intervention studies. Raw garlic produces the highest allicin yield. 10 minutes of light cooking after the resting period preserves the majority of DPP-4 inhibiting activity while significantly softening the flavor. Change one habit this week. Mince your garlic first, set it aside, prep everything else, then add it last. That 10-minute window is the entire difference between flavoring your food and medicating it. Food 9. Matcha. In 2016, researchers at the University of Shizuoka in Japan measured the metabolic response of participants who consumed matcha green tea daily for 12 weeks against a control group drinking standard green tea. The matcha group showed significantly greater reductions in body fat ratio and waist circumference, not because matcha is magic, but because it works through 3 distinct pathways simultaneously, none of which overlap with anything else on this list. Matcha is the only food here running 3 mechanisms at once. The first pathway is familiar. EGCG, matcha's primary catechin, directly stimulates intestinal L cells to produce GLP-1. The second is also familiar. EGCG inhibits DPP-4, protecting circulating GLP-1 from breakdown. The third pathway is unique to matcha on this entire list: thermogenesis. A 1999 study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that green tea extract containing EGCG increased 24-hour energy expenditure by approximately 4% compared to placebo, independent of caffeine content. Your body burns additional calories as heat, while GLP-1 simultaneously suppresses appetite. Matcha delivers up to 10 times more EGCG per gram than standard steeped green tea because you are consuming the entire ground leaf. Half a teaspoon whisked into water at 175 degrees Fahrenheit, just below boiling, preserves EGCG integrity better than boiling water, which degrades the compound measurably. 1 to 2 cups before early afternoon captures the full metabolic window without disrupting sleep. Buy organic, check the label for added sugar, and use it to replace your second coffee of the day. Matcha's L-theanine delivers sharper focus with none of the cortisol spike that follows a late morning espresso. Food 10. Kefir. Most people reach for kefir when they want better digestion. Almost nobody reaches for it thinking about GLP-1. That gap is exactly where kefir earns its place as the final food on this list, and arguably the most powerful one for long-term results. Kefir doesn't just feed your gut bacteria, it moves in permanently. Kefir is a fermented milk drink containing live bacterial strains, primarily Lactobacillus kefiri and various Lactococcus species, that survive transit through your stomach acid and reach your colon intact. A 2021 study in the Journal of Functional Foods found that daily kefir consumption over 8 weeks significantly increased GLP-1 secretion in participants with metabolic syndrome compared to a control group drinking non-fermented milk. The mechanism operates through 2 pathways. First, live bacterial strains in kefir directly stimulate L cells in the colon through pattern recognition receptors on the gut lining. Second, the fermentation byproducts in kefir, particularly short-chain fatty acids produced during the culturing process, provide the same propionate signal identified in the lentils section, creating a compounding effect when both foods appear in the same diet. A 2019 review in Nutrients confirmed that regular kefir consumption measurably shifts the gut microbiome toward bacterial profiles associated with higher baseline GLP-1 tone, meaning the benefit accumulates the longer you use it. 1 cup per day is the dose used in most intervention studies. Plain, full-fat, unsweetened kefir only. Flavored versions contain added sugars that spike insulin and partially offset the GLP-1 benefit. Use it as a base for the overnight oats from Food 4, or drink it alongside your morning ginger turmeric drink. You will be running 5 GLP-1 mechanisms before 9 a.m. Your gut makes GLP-1 every day. These 10 foods stock that system, block the enzyme dismantling it, and feed the bacteria amplifying the signal from within. No prescription required, just a better grocery list and 1 preparation habit per food. Pick the food that landed hardest and use it correctly this week. The next video covers the foods actively suppressing your GLP-1, the other side of this equation. Linked on screen now. Not professional advice. Consult a qualified expert as needed.